Hey guys, here's another amateur video on how to install your vinyl decal on your car. This one's a Porsche 911, and I say amateur because I've done quite a few of these successfully and I think they came out pretty good. But alright, let's get started. First things first, the supplies you're going to need. Then after that, the prep, and then pre-fitting, then the installation. Alright. So here are the supplies you're going to need beforehand. There's my handy dandy bucket. Here we have alcohol, 70%, 90%, it's up to you. Water mixed with soap. The mixture, you can go online. Squeegee, pin, X-Acto knife, blade, preferably something brand new so it's super sharp and not dull, and scissors. As far as prepping your surface, you want to spray your surface with alcohol. You want to make sure it's clean, wax free, and just basically dirt free, just to make sure that your decal sticks real good and it doesn't start popping on you after a few days. So clean it with alcohol, let it dry right away, and then after that you want to start with pre-fitting your decal. Pre-fitting meaning that what I did here is I drew a line right through the middle of the car. So I measured it. It was about 26.5, halfway through my hood from the top area, and then I put a tape right through the middle just so I know where the middle would be. And then I laid my decal there and measured it to exactly where I want, so that way everything's nice and straight, because there's not a whole lot of room for mistakes here. You'll see I have a few extra tapes on the side right there. That's just in case. But you want to lay your decal exactly where you want it, and once you already know where it's going to be, you want to put a tape right in the middle, because you're going to work in sections. You don't want to do the whole thing all at one time, because almost guaranteed if you're an amateur, you're going to screw it up. So you want to put a tape in the middle, work from the top half first, and then once that's laid down, squeegeed exactly where you want it, then you want to take that tape off and then work on the lower half. So let's get started. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to work in sections. Like I said earlier, you want to work on the top half first. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to take this off, and you want to make sure that the backing or the decal does not stick to the backing. So like this. Alright, and just slide it down right over here, and then right where your tape ends right there, you're going to grab your scissors and just cut that section off. Be very careful not to nick your paint. That, take down. You want to spray this area here with your soap and water solution. Getting this nice and wet, because we're doing the wet method, not the dry method. I think the wet method is better, because then there's a little more room for adjustments. Dry, there's less room for mistakes. Then you want to work your way, grab your squeegee, and then just apply here, and just go as you go down. You want to keep, basically, you want to squeegee some of that water and get some of that bubble out. Just like that, right there, all the way to the end. Now, work outward. Get all that water out of the way. Make sure you are overlapping all the way to the end, and do the same thing with the other side. Apply just the right amount of pressure to get the bubbles out, get all that soap out. hear some crackling, it's because you're trying to squeeze all that air out. And sometimes you can see the water moving in there. You can see some of the bubbles moving in there. If you see any bubbles in there, work on it. You don't want really is to want to have to start popping those once you're done, because that could be a pain. And work on the edges as well. You can still hear some popping right now. Now that's done. Now we're going to work on we're going to remove this tape here. The tape that kind of held it in place, and our halfway tape, just in case you need it. Put it over here. Let's work on the lower half. Remove the backing. Slowly. Sometimes the decal or the graphics will stick to the backing. Just kind of press it back in there, just like this. So start from here. You don't want to wet the backing, because then as a result, when you wet the backing, it sticks, just like what happened here. And again, get your squeegee ready. You want to wet this lower half with your water and soap solution. Make sure it's nice and wet, okay? Alright, that's it. And then, again, start lowering it down, one section at a time. Squeezing all that water out as you go along. Just go slow, no need to rush. When you rush this, mistakes you make. Now it's down. Again, like you did for the upper part, you want to squeegee out all the bubbles and all that water that's trapped in there. That's the whole point. Just apply a moderate pressure, not too hard, because you don't want to scrape the transfer paper. The whole point here is to remove all your bubbles. Get all that air out, because once this dries, you have a lot of air bubbles in there, then it becomes a bigger problem. And it's not going to look as nice. Working your way down, overlapping. Work on the edges also as well, because the edges are very important. If the edges don't stick, then you're in trouble. It's not going to last as long, especially once it catches air, water. And then Alright, so once you've squeegeed out all the bubbles as best as you can, like I said, applying moderate pressure without doing any damage. What you want to do next is you want to give this time to cure so the decal sticks to the surface, and then you can take the transfer paper off. Alright, so while you're waiting for that kind of dry time, what you want to do is you want to work on the excess. What you want to do here is you don't want to cut right at the very edge. You want to cut just at the back end of it, so that way you can still tuck it in. It's a nicer and cleaner look versus you see the edge right on the top of your hood here. Okay, so you want to go slow. Alright, so I just had to replace my blade to make sure I have a brand new one. That way it cuts right through. So what you want to do is you want to be very careful. Like I said, you want to kind of overcut above the edge of the hood, so that way you can flip it or kind of tape it down under, and it looks nicer. So use your thumb to kind of feel the edge of the hood, so that way, and you can guide your blade. Piece right there. Slip this here. What we'll do is once our 15 minutes is over, okay, we're gonna start peeling off the transfer paper and then kind of tuck it in. We'll do the same thing with the bottom. Alright, my apologies. I did say amateur because when I was recording, I thought I was recording the part where I was showing you guys how to peel the transfer tape from the decal, and I had to find out it wasn't. So that's why I said in the beginning, amateur. But anyway, when removing the transfer tape from the decal, you want to go in a tight angle, meaning that you do not want to lift this up at a high angle like this, because then you increase your chances of pulling the decal off of the surface. So you want to go in a tight angle, rather like this. That part right there, it's still sticky, but that's because of the edge, just the edge. But you want to go in a tight angle like this, and then just kind of fold. Again, keep going at a tight angle. And this part right here, it's that way because that's the edge, but you want to go tight like this.